that, who were some of your biggest rock influences, if you want to kick off with that one?
Well, I was learning about rock and roll in the 70s when I was a little kid. So my biggest influences are mainly 70s rock bands like Aerosmith, AC/DC, UFO, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Leonard Skinner, and then, 80s bands too, like Guns N' Roses, was a big influence of mine. Let me see if I have anything else here. Rolling Stones, Beatles. Elton John is actually a really big influence of mine for just the whole melodic sensibilities of his music and lyrical too, of just really, when I was really young, I got into Elton John really hard, and that was a big influence of mine.
Sure.
I don't know if I mentioned the Beatles, Neil Young, Leonard Skinner, Van Halen in the late 70s.
Yes.
It was a big one for me. You asked if I have a favorite live album, and I would have to say it's a tie for Strangers in the Night and If You Want Blood, You Got It by AC/DC.
Both great albums.
Those are fantastic live albums, and it's hard to top those two. So, anything else you're curious about?
Yeah, was it a thrill when you were invited to join UFO, being that you were a fan?
Yeah, and I was definitely a fan. I saw them when I was in high school with Paul Chapman, and it was definitely a thrill. But I was pretty busy with the feeling of just learning the material and doing a good job to let it get into my head too much and get overly excited or overly nervous or anything like that, because I knew I had a important job to do just to get to have the gig. And I didn't have an audition, but we did a rehearsal and we went right into touring. So we might have done 2 rehearsals even. So I was just focused on getting it right, and of course that's a process that takes a while when you're playing with a band you've never played with. At least I feel that. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next question on your list, Rob, was from Cheryl.
Okay. Let's see. I'm ready. You
You
want to read it?
Yeah, can you?
Yeah.
Cheryl,
We'll get you involved, Kate. Come on.
Oh, sorry. Hey,
Want you involved?
I've got all on selling merch here. Look.
Oh, nice. Strangers in the Night face masks.
Just a little commercial break there, like you have to have.
To pay our sponsor.
Yeah. Cheryl says, what is your favorite UFO song and why? And what is your favorite thing about being on tour apart from the Merch Woman? Actually, She didn't say that, but yeah, she did say, what's your favorite thing about being on tour?
Okay. Hi, Cheryl. My favorite UFO song to play or personally? Personally, I would say it's Love to Love. It's such an interesting journey of music and lyrics, and that's the kind of song that if someone is able to write one of them in their lifetime, that's pretty amazing, and I love playing it live too. It's probably my favorite to play live also for the similar reasons of just the journey of it, and it's just so stunning and beautiful. And even if anyone questions if Phil Mogg is still, because as people get older, some bands, they're not as good as they used to be, and that's okay, that's part of life. And some people are in the audience just they're enjoying it, but they're also enjoying it partially because they're remembering what it was. But if anyone has any questions of how great Phil Mogg still is, just pull up any live video of Love to Love in the last couple years, and it's just incredible how great his voice is and his writing and his phrasing. And so I think that's a great showcase for him also. And That's an incredible song. I also love Push to the Limit a lot off Walk on Water. It's maybe it's not on that level of Love to Love, but it's got such attitude. It's I really like that one. So that would be my favorite, the Love to Love. Anything else you're curious about?
What's your favorite thing about touring?
My favorite thing about touring? Well, I'm sure Kate can attest that I spend most of my time with my nose buried in a computer, which isn't very sexy, but I like to get a lot of things done when I'm on tour, and I also like to stay in touch with people. But having said that, it's ironic that I think the things I like the most are seeing different cultures, experiencing different cultures, getting a world view of humanity, which is very important because it just reaffirms that your views are just your views, or it might be your little area's views, but there's a big world out there, and there are billions of people who are very important, as important as you, and it's good to consider them. So I like experiencing different cultures in different countries.
The next cab off the rank here is Karen. Karen, who says she would love to know what your favorite bass amp combo is and why, because she's also a bass player.
You're a bass player. Yes, I saw your question. Thank you. And are you in a band?
Not at the moment, no, but I have been in the past.
All right. Well, if anyone is looking for a bass player, I'm available. No. Karen is available. So please hire Karen Densmore. Well, my favorite bass amp combo, we'll start with basses. In UFO, I've used two different basses, but I obviously use a Gibson Thunderbird the most in 1979. And that is a particularly great sounding Thunderbird. I've played about 5 or 6 of them in my life. And that one is honestly the best sounding of all the ones I've played by far for some reason. It just has this sub-low frequency that isn't there on the other Thunderbirds I've played. And it's an interesting bass because it was designed by a car maker. The actual look of it was designed by a car maker. I think he worked at Chrysler. And Gibson wanted well, we're going back to, I think, 63 when they first designed that shape, because they had that's called a reverse. The shape I have is a reverse Thunderbird. Sorry if I'm losing everyone. But before that, they had a different shape to the Thunderbird, and they kind of reversed it, and it's called the reverse Thunderbird. And that came about in about 1963, and I think it was designed by a car maker.
There it is.
Matt's got a picture for everyone who's getting lost.
Is that the one?
Yes, it is. So I think a car maker at Chrysler designed that. And so that's my favorite bass to play in UFO. But if I had to pick an all-around versatile bass in general, so getting more general with your question, I would say an early to mid-1960s Fender Precision, because I think the Fender Precision is a very good all-around instrument for rock, metal, pop, reggae, blues. It's really versatile. And I have played a 1966 Fender Precision in UFO for the first couple of years, and on occasions since then. So I would say those are my two main basses to go to. And amplifiers, I always try to use, when possible, and a tube amp called an Ampeg SVT. It's probably the most popular bass amp. And they were in Elkin, Indiana for a while. Oh, you're in Illinois. They were in Elkin, Indiana. Liz, are you in Elkin?
No, Elgin, Illinois.
So I take back what I said. They were in Elkin, Indiana for a while. And the older the better with SVTs, because you get back to the Class A wiring and the heavier transformers, and they just sound better. So the older the better Ampeg SVT. So,
Is it harder to travel with a tube amp?
well, especially an Ampeg SVT, because it's 100 pounds just for the top part. Then the cabinet, the speakers are another 200 pounds. So yes.
Yeah, not exactly light traveling there, but well, that's
No.
great. That's like the classic.
It is.
Awesome.
It is. And the reason why, that people don't play them on occasion is because the weight, absolutely, and the size. They're big and they're heavy. They're very bulky, but they, you can't replace that sound with a little tiny amplifier, solid state amplifier. You can, if that's your best scenario for the moment, then that's great, a little amplifier. But so that's my
Can
opinion.
I just say, Rob, as well, this is what you've just said about it being heavy and everything is a good time to give a shout out to the crew, the stage guys who
Yes.
lug it all off load it in, load it back out again.
Yes.
Great
UFO
guys.
crew is the best, and they work hard. Do you want to mention all them, Kate, or?
Nah, they won't be listening.
Won't care about this. But
No,
they're
they all
incredible.
are. They're all great guys, and they work from the minute they get out of their bunk until the minute they get back in their bunk at 3 in the morning. All good guys.
Yeah, they have a very long day, and they're specialists. They're really, really great, and we're lucky to have them.
We are. Except Eric, we don't want him. So Karen's next question was, which of the shows you've played with UFO do you most wish had been recorded and videotaped? And what were the aspects of that show that made it special?
Well, I would have to say one or both of the last two sold out London shows with Paul Raymond. It would have been
Definitely.
nice to just have that, because he was not sick. He was not sick at all. He was totally rocking, and he passed away 8 or so days later, 9 days later. So I think that would have been really amazing if we just happened to have recorded that, one of those, for posterity. I think it would have been a miracle of a coincidence. So, but we didn't, and that's okay. So we had Paul, had joined the band, I believe, in '76. He had a wonderful life, and we miss him.
The next question from Karen, have you got it there, Rob, or do you need me to read it out? It was about being given the keys to a recording studio and an unlimited budget to make an album. Which studio would it be, and which band or artist would you like to produce?
Oh, okay. Well, the studio I would pick is a studio that's gone, called Bearsville in Woodstock, New York. It was a really big room. It was a really big studio with a huge live room that had a vintage Neve console, and I recorded there once with producer Steve Lillywhite, and it's just, the Stones have recorded there, and a lot of people. So that would, even though it's long gone, that's where I would love to record. And who I would like to produce or and record, it would be great to watch Guns N' Roses make a comeback album that was a return to their original hard, nasty rock form. It would be incredible to see that up close. So, since we're talking fantasy, it would be GNR.
And Karen then said, which song are you most pleased to have written or played on?
With UFO, The Killing Kind,
Yeah.
with my band Spread Eagle, Through These Eyes. 2 songs that are very special to me.
And Karen, who seem to have got a whole afternoon to put all her questions together.
Yeah,
Karen,
those last 3 weren't mine.
oh, that's what I've got here.
No,
Oh, that's weird. Oh, well, somebody other than Karen then. And own up if it's you, says, now that New York subways are sparkling. Oh, that was Wendy's, wasn't it? Now that New York
Yeah.
subways are sparkling clean. Was that yours, Wendy?
Oh.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, thank you, Karen. We'll go on to the next. I can see them here too, Kate.
Oh, right. Oh, I'll let you
Let
do
me
the work
see. I
then.
have them on my phone right here.
Hang on.
And,
Commercial break. Commercial break. Carry on.
Okay, Wendy's next.
Okay.
Okay, that was Wendy's question. That was a great question. Which show I would like to have recorded? And yeah, it would have been one of those last shows with Paul. I mean, if I could have the life that Paul had, like Paul was, I believe he was a professional musician since about 16 years of age. And he was, you know, in his 70s when he passed. So if I could have that kind of life of just playing music my whole entire life, I would pass a very happy man. So, so I think he had a really fantastic life, and but we miss him. So I see that was your question, and handed the keys to the recording studio. That was Wendy's question also.
Yeah. Sorry, Wendy.
Yeah, definitely. It would be so cool for GNR to make that record that the whole world is waiting on. And I actually like their last record too, that got panned. I like it a lot. But production wise, it didn't sound like their early stuff. Yeah, and Bearsville Studios was a great studio that I was lucky enough to record at. Bob Dylan's manager used to own it. And the songs, yes, Killing Kind and Through These Eyes. And Wendy asked, now that the New York subways are sparkling clean and sanitized, will Spread Eagle make an underground, literally, video for the title cut of Subway to the Stars? Well, well, I won't be going, even though the COVID rate has lowered substantially in New York, I will not be going anywhere near the subway yet. And I'm a tough guy. It's really still got me worried. You know, my father is 86, and I like to visit him as often as possible. And I'm skeptical of things I read and hear because I think people are politically motivated. So I feel for myself that I have to think for myself when it comes to health. And I'm still worried until this goes away. So I won't be going into the subway anytime soon. And unless it's, you know, something I have to do, but there's nothing I have to go into Subway for at this moment. And yes, we'd like to make a video for Subway to the Stars, absolutely. So maybe a remote video or a lyric video or something. I haven't started thinking about it yet, but yes, that would be really great. Anything else, Wendy? You didn't get as much screen time.
No, I sent all my questions in various different emails, so they'll probably pop up later too.
Okay. Well,
I think I sent Kate, you know, so the rest are filler questions for when everyone else is done.
oh yes, no, I see more. Sorry, my mistake. I just didn't scroll down far enough. I didn't scroll. So, okay. What song did you play on your Berklee College of Music audition? So, yes, I see all your questions now, Wendy. Sorry about that. So, well, I was lucky enough to go to Berklee College of Music. My parents were very supportive of me wanting to be a musician. I had a really nice car when I was a kid. I sold it for tuition to show how serious I was. And they helped me with tuition. I was very lucky about that. But I started as a guitar player. I went there as a guitar player. I hadn't played bass when I was a kid. I was just playing guitar in local rock bands and cover bands. I mean, I was in Wilmington, Delaware, which there was zero music scene other than Vinnie Moore. So I, you know, it's basically just playing in basements and things like that. I did a couple gigs in front of people, but not many. So so I went to Berkeley as a guitar player, and I didn't have a live audition. What I did was I was taking lessons in Delaware, and I told my teacher, I had been studying with a guy for a little while, and I told him I wanted to go to Berkeley, and he informed me that he had gotten another student into Berkeley for guitar. So he said if I give him a year to learn a particular method, he felt he could get me in, doing the same thing that this prior guy had done that got accepted. So for a year, he taught me all these jazz inversions and chords up and down the neck of the guitar to just show that I knew the neck really, really well. And then after a year, I recorded all them onto like a cassette, you know, at home. And I sent that to Berkeley, and because of that, they accepted me. And then pretty early into being there, I was friends with a band that needed a bassist, and I switched thinking it would be temporary, but I loved bass so much more that I just switched 100% to bass. So I did not audition for them for Berkeley.